we are going to talk about nearshoring and the business that you're in. I honestly, I'd never heard that term until they said, "Hey, we've got this guy named Brian Samson is going to be on our show. He
Yeah,
knows he's got a nearshoring company." I'm like, "What the hell is that?" So tell us
yeah,
about that.
happy to share more.
So yeah, I'm not normally in this studio, Brian. I'm doing this solo because Eric, my co-host, couldn't be here today.
No worries.
So you're just gonna be stuck with me.
Mark,
Um,
there's something cool I just found out. You and I
what's
are both Salukis.
Oh, you're a Saluki?
Yep.
Wow, we got to keep this is part of the show now. We're going to talk about this, Brian.
Good. Good.
As we get into another episode of Big Talk about small business. I'm Mark Zweig, and I'm here without my co-host Eric Howerton, but I do have Brian Sampson as my guest. And Brian is, I just found out, a Saluki.
Yep. Yep. Great times in Carbondale, Illinois.
Man, when did you graduate from there?
2003.
You were probably right before it really started to decline. When I was there were 25,000 students.
Yeah. We were kind of the last hurrah of the big Halloween.
Oh yeah, were you? Yeah, you got to
Yeah.
participate in
Yeah.
that, huh?
Yeah. They canceled it for a couple of years, like totally shut the campus down. Like if you live far away from home, you just had to figure something out. You
That,
could not stay on campus.
that
Um,
place was crazy. Yeah.
it was wild, and then let's give it another try. And Halloween was just the most, still 20 years later, it's like the most crazy couple days I can remember.
Eh,
Um,
Have you been back to Carbondale since you got
Yeah.
out?
So I actually live in Hawaii today.
Oh, okay.
And
I thought you
every
were in Argentina or somewhere.
well, I did have a lot of experience there.
Uh-huh.
Um, but every year, my wife and our two young kids, we try to go somewhere for 3, 4 weeks and like show them something, so they don't get too sheltered in Hawaii.
Sure.
Uh, they pick up some Midwest values like I had, and my wife grew up abroad.
So you
So
take them to crusty Carbondale and
we
go,
took
this
them
is
out. Yeah. Now let me ask if there was a pizza place called Quattro's when
Oh
you.
yeah, that was still there.
Yeah.
That was I think the original one, if I'm not mistaken, was up at Champaign Urbana and they
Was
did
it?
one in
Yeah.
Carbondale when I was there. Yeah, it was deep dish. That was a big
Yeah.
thing at the time.
Yeah. So
But
you remember summer times were pretty sweltering there. So
oh yeah.
we took actually like late September, early October. I'm thinking we're gonna see beautiful fall colors, but it was it was just as hot as it would have been in on July 4th. So we were, going back and forth between the air conditioned student center and 5 minutes of in the stroller.
That
Like,
is funny.
that's where Feiner Hall is. That's where I used to do this.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was great.
Yeah, Feiner is one of the worst design buildings I've ever seen in my entire life. I that opened up when I was there.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. Yeah.
but we were all like, "What the heck is it? You got to go outside to get to another part of the building? What's that about?" But anyway, it's so funny. I just recently rejoined the board of the College of Business there.
No kidding.
I
Okay.
was Yeah, I was on it for years. Probably, in fact, when I was on it when you were in school down there.
Wow.
But anyway, we could talk about Carbondale all day. But we
Okay.
did go to the Saluki Ball as the guests of the dean of the College of Business,
Yeah.
and we were just down there here in spring, and
Oh, wow. Really
yeah,
recent. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was recent. It was great. It's being
Yeah.
fun being back in Carbondale. Real estate is dirt cheap there. Did you happen to look at that?
Oh my gosh. I have one of my all-time best friends I met while I was there. and he decided to stay, raise his family.
Yeah.
So he bought this 17-acre spread in Carterville, which is right next door.
Sure.
And beautiful house, 17-acre spread, and his kids can run around. It's safe. His lets his dogs out. They go in this big pond by his house. It's probably 300,000 for the whole setup, all of that.
I don't doubt it.
And I think about how expensive it is where we are, and oh my gosh, every once in a while, the simple life of Southern Illinois is tempting.
I get it. When I was there, I had a trailer. I lived out in Giant City Road
Yeah,
in
yeah.
Wildwood Mobile Home Court. You talk about cheap living. We paid
Yeah.
$2,230 for it, and lot rent was $50 a month.
Oh
So
gosh.
I had no payments on it, just paid my lot rent. I rented out the spare bedroom to a dude for $70 a month, so I was $20 ahead.
Oh my gosh. Look at
Yeah.
you.
And anyway, it was good times, but that's not what we're here to talk about today, although it is really fun. We are going to talk about nearshoring and the business that you're in. I honestly, I'd never heard that term until they said, "Hey, we've got this guy named Brian Samson is going to be on our show. He
Yeah.
knows he's got a nearshoring company." I'm like, "What the hell is that?" So tell us
Yeah.
about that.
Happy to share more. So I'm sure you've heard of the term outsourcing and probably even offshoring before.
I've been involved in it, and
Yeah.
I can say,
Yeah.
unfortunately, on a certain level, but yes.
Yeah. Most people that are senior in their careers have probably worked with Asia
Hmm.
sometime or another. Usually India, maybe China, Philippines. If you've had an issue with United Airlines, you probably have called their 800 number and been connected to the Philippines,
I can
and
always tell. Yeah, we
yeah,
had
yeah,
Philippines for outbound sales and some other kind of marketing support, and then India for IT and accounting.
yeah, yeah,
So yes, that
yeah,
was when I. Yeah. Anyway, go on. Tell us. So we've had.
yeah, yeah. So, late 90s, you probably saw signs from like the Stephen Friedman, the world is flat, call centers in India, all this stuff is kind
Mhm.
of popping up. US companies are starting to get arbitrage and leverage from offshoring work. So, that's been going on forever. And what's interesting is, so I've been in the nearshore world for about 10 years. And, even in the early days of talking about it, I would first plant it around, have you ever done offshore before? And everyone had, right? Like
Mhm.
everyone had that experience. The next question is, well, what was your experience? And no one was neutral. No one was neutral. They either thought it was the greatest thing that ever happened to them
Mhm.
because they rewrote their whole code base for $4 or something like that,
Right.
or never again over my dead body will I ever try this again. But nobody was like, yeah, it was okay. So
Put my wife in the latter category.
yeah,
Before she was my wife, she was my financial manager and in the company when I got it back from the private equity firm that destroyed it. It was taken over by its lenders, and we got these offshoring companies, as I mentioned, to do the
yeah,
stuff that was done. And she would be pulling her hair out and
yeah,
making calls at 1 a.m. to India. And
yeah, yeah,
yeah, so you're right. People are opinionated about it. I have seen it work in some
yeah,
places. We've got some
yeah,
engineering firm clients that we worked
totally,
with that have had great success doing stuff in India and places like that.
absolutely. So the reality of it is, excuse me, offshoring's pretty mature right now.
Mhm.
Um, the the labor part of it has really been commoditized. So if you're going to offshore, it's really about a race to the bottom with price. and that's where everything is. And if you ask anybody, well, why did you decide to put your team in India or the Philippines or Thailand
Right.
or cost?
Sure.
Cost is always the number one driver. And in 2015 is when I started my nearshoring adventure. Came home one day, and I was working on a thesis and had an investor, and saw this need for. I was living in San Francisco at the time. Saw this need for uh, companies to build MVPs, minimum viable products, for fintech companies,
Yep.
and raised a couple million. But I realized that would get us nothing in San Francisco. As we talk about costs of Carbondale, San
Sure.
Francisco,
Yeah.
you know. Um, so we decided to keep sales in San Francisco, but put our development team in Buenos Aires.
Mm-hmm.
So I came home one day and told my wife, "Hey, good news. We got the investment. What do you think about moving to Argentina for a little while?" And she's like, "Yeah, sure." So we didn't have kids at the time, and ended up living there for about a year in Buenos Aires, which is just a big mega city with about 14 million people. Um, Not as many tall buildings as, say, New York or Chicago. There are some, but a lot of like what Paris probably looked like
Mm-hmm.
50, 60, 70 years ago. Um, and I saw this uh, really interesting quality of life, beautiful tree lined streets, amazing architecture, some of the best food I've ever had. If you want the best steak of your life, I always tell people go to Argentina. If you want the
Sure.
best Malbec of your life, go to Argentina. So you've got all these great things going for it. I'm like, well, and it's also dirt cheap. Why is this so cheap? Why are software engineers so cheap? Um, well, there's a lot going wrong for it, but it's not the fault of the population. And I think that's what if you don't travel or think about life outside the U.S., you'll
Mm-hmm.
see a news headline and kind of blame the people for the government's decisions, right? So the
Right.
people kind of take the hit. So you might read about a headline like Venezuela breadline, or riots in wherever, or I'll pick on Venezuela again. The currency is totally worthless. Like the paper
Unstable.
isn't
Yeah.
even worth anything anymore, right?
Sure.
They just
Sure.
print so much. But that's not the people's fault. It's the leader's fault. And very similar to Argentina, they were one of the wealthiest countries in the world pre World War II, and then 80, 90 years of just terrible mismanagement, bad inflation, really bad inflation, so bad that when we visited, and I've been there 9 times, many menus are written in chalk because they have to update the prices so frequently, right?
You,
Printed menu is a real luxury there. Um, and long queues, labor strikes, volatility, just it's really hard to do business. As this podcast is, running businesses, it's really hard to do business when you don't have stability. You don't have
right.
stability in currency. You don't have stability in government. You don't know what laws are going to back you up.
Sure.
Um, so, as I started to kind of weigh these two things, I peeled the onion back, one level deeper. And as we're talking about our frustrations with United Airlines and the call center and everything, I realized that it's not a fault of their own. And the byproduct of growing up in an environment like this is these people are flexible, adaptable. They've overcome really hard things in their life,
Mm-hmm.
starting from birth. Like it's just
Sure.
hard, right? They have to overcome hard things. In I think 2000, up until 2000, they tried to peg the peso to the dollar, and then realized it was worth nowhere near what the dollar was. Um, And to avoid what we went through in 1929 with the bank run, they had to lock up all US dollars. So overnight, people lost like 80% of their life savings. So there's
Wow.
this inherent distrust, but it's not their
Mhm.
fault. So these are people that are have had to become really creative problem solvers, really clever, um, again, flexible, adaptable, gritty. And then I think about, well, as an employer, aren't all those things that I want in an employee, right?
Yep.
Yeah, of course I do.
Sure.
And most people I know do. And to top it all off, English fluency in Argentina is among the best in Latin America, and it's U.S. style English. It's not the scripted kind that I
Right.
personally feel when I call the call center in Asia, and if I go outside the lines, we're in
Yeah.
trouble on that call. Uh,
Sure.
so I'll stop there. Probably a little bit to unpack.
No, don't stop. So
Eh,
this is why you decided to move to Argentina,
Yeah,
was you
so this
saw
is
this opportunity that existed to employ these people productively. Is that right?
that's right. Yeah, so
Hey,
we grew a whole dev team to about 80 people there, and it was great. It was absolutely fantastic. We had a culture that really aligned with the U.S., really aligned with U.S. Clients. Um, the uh, the team understood how the U.S. worked, like how the U.S. mind worked, and
right.
um, many times companies, they might say they want it done like a very specific way, but they understand like things come up and you have to look at you like software, for example, but it could be your marketing plan, anything. And that also means you want the people on the ground to share their feedback and advice. And you're in good luck with Latin America, where it's a little hierarchical, but nowhere near as hierarchical as Asia. So
Right.
if you were to work with a team in India, you've got your software engineer doing the work, but there's like 8 bosses, and then the big boss is who the US client is interacting with. It all trickles down, all trickles up. You never talk to the real software developer. That's not the case at all in Latin America. You're talking directly to the software developer. There's not all this people in the middle, because culturally they're okay pushing back because
Right.
they've got all this passion. Uh,
Uh-huh.
if they think your architecture or design, or and I'm making the software specific, but this could be
Right.
anything. This could be your business operations workflow. This could be how you're setting up your call center, the tools you're using, whatever. These guys have an opinion, and they're very comfortable sharing it with you, and also okay disagreeing with you.
Right.
Uh, not
That
everyone
can be critical.
not everyone wants that with the
Yeah.
outsourced
No.
partner, but
Yeah.
many do. Many
Sure.
need that. They need to hear it.
I've had limited experience with software development projects, but usually it's been bad.
No,
Um, you always get told another 6 months, another 6 months, another
yeah.
6 months, another 200,000, another 300,000. It just
Yeah.
burns it up, and then you never get what you want. But so yeah, somebody who would be honest with you and give you feedback that you need to hear as an ignorant person like myself, that would be valued. I would appreciate that,
Yeah, same.
you know?
Yeah, give me the feedback. Give me what's going on the
Yeah.
ground. Don't cover it up because you're worried I'll yell at you for being the messenger.
That is very interesting thing that you just pointed out there. I mean, you're right about India that rarely do you ever talk with anybody who actually does your work, whether at least that's been my experience with the counting. They
Oh,
dole everything off to somebody else. And then the other thing is the caste system really, it's been a
oh,
problem. where it's competent people are not allowed to move up or be the one that you talk with. There are some good people that are competent, but you don't get to deal with them, and they don't ever get moved up in the hierarchy of the outsourced service provider.
Yeah, that's right. It's not a meritocracy.
Yeah, it's not, and that's a very interesting point. So let's just back up for a minute now. Um, so that you got started in this nearshoring, how did that happen? I mean, did you just start this company because you thought Argentina was a good culture, or were you part of another company, or what happened?
Yeah, I'll back that up a little bit because I think the story is a little funny in
Okay,
that so I was 2015 had spent excuse me, had spent excuse me one second, Mark.
no worries.
In 2015, I had spent 5 years in San Francisco. I grew up in the Midwest and was kind of getting tired of the culture there. It was really tech focused, and that's all anybody ever wanted to talk about.
Sure,
Um, it was good for my career, but 5 years of long hours, people just wanted to talk about work and tech. So, and I also was thinking about grad school at the time and, doing my MBA.
hmm,
My wife happened to be American, but grew up in Korea and Japan. Her
okay,
dad was an expat for a hotel company, so he was setting up hotels out there.
hmm,
So she kind of opened my eyes. I was Midwest kid, like we would go to Wisconsin for vacation. Not Hong Kong, right?
just went there 2 weeks ago. I was in Eagle River.
Oh yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
so where did you grow up in? Did you grow up in Illinois or
Yeah,
where?
yeah, I was in the suburbs of Chicago.
Oh,
Wonderful
okay,
childhood,
sure,
but Midwest focused, right?
right.
Didn't really venture out. So my wife kind of opened the world to me.
Mhm.
We thought, huh, it could be kind of interesting to um, try to be expats in Asia. That sounds really cool.
Yep,
I'd been there before and saw the modern skyscrapers of Singapore and Shanghai, and
sure.
wow, this could be really cool.
Yep.
So I ended up getting into this MBA program with UCLA Anderson, which most people know,
Mhm.
but it was a joint program, and the other school was National University of Singapore. And not many people on this that listening might know, but NUS is the number one school in Asia. But we're so ethnocentric here in America.
Yeah.
We don't know anything outside of Harvard and Stanford.
Right. Yeah.
But anyway, I thought NUS would be my ticket to
Okay.
Asia. So got
Yeah.
in. I'm going back and forth between Westwood, California, and Singapore, and um, ended up meeting the guy who would be my investor for this fintech business we talked about. And, we were starting to talk, and, my first uh, pitch to him was, he was running a big company at the time in China. Hey, how about you hire me as an expat in China? I could work for you. He's like, well, how's your Chinese? Oh, zero. Can I can I just get by in English? No, that wasn't gonna work. So we started talking more, and he really agreed with me on my idea around the need for uh, MVPs to be built across the board with San Francisco and New York fintech companies. You had these companies that had product driven, finance driven leaders, no problem getting capital, pretty clear product vision, and totally agnostic to how it was built.
Right.
So, okay, if I can't be an expat for you in China, maybe I can run this, we'll run this, you'll fund it. So the world was kind of my oyster for a minute, like, well, where should I put this? And maybe I can turn this into a whole expat experience. So, my wife and I are having a lot of fun, like looking at the world map, and, and I'm talking to different people.
Fantasizing. Yeah.
Why, like, what would life be like in Taiwan? What would life be like in wherever?
We do that with Italy these days.
Yeah, yeah,
That's my wife's favorite is Italy. And then you start looking at the houses, you go, wow, we can get a really great house in Italy for the money. My God.
yeah, yeah.
You
Well, now
know,
they have this program is you can like buy it for $1. You just got to fix it up.
those things are beyond rough and difficult to
Okay.
redo though. I mean, those are ridiculous. But still, yeah, I know what that's all about. That fantasizing about living somewhere else.
Yeah. So we had this
Sure.
kind of world is our oyster,
Yep.
and ended up, after long conversations with a lot of people, uh, the dart fell on Argentina. So came home that day, to my wife, and um,
Now, were you
so
living in Singapore or you're living in the
we
US?
were in San Francisco, but trips to Singapore, trips to LA a lot.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, you said Westwood. I was like, that's LA, dude. That
LA,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. So, but we had an apartment, no kids, not a lot of strings. It was
sure.
much different than my life is today.
Yeah, I get it.
We're pretty planted. Kids get their schools. But
Right.
at the time, it's a different
You're
story.
free and easy. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, a lot of different. And you know, I was lucky enough to have this wife who was very understanding and open to adventures, and it was just kind of ironic because originally I was looking at a place like Singapore,
Right.
which I think is rated like first or second in the world every year in ease of doing business, no corruption.
It's
Uh,
beautiful. It's clean. It's yeah.
yeah, like
Right.
stable, no volatility. The currency, I looked up a currency chart the other day, and like 15 years in a row, it's been like this with the dollar, just
Yep.
straight. And then I ended up in Argentina, which is probably the polar opposite of Singapore in every single way. It's
It's
chaotic,
chaotic, dirty.
messy. Yeah.
Right.
um, it's not that dirty. It's not like India dirty,
Right.
but but it's dirty in how they do things. Like it's very corrupt, right? Very corrupt. You have no clarity. So like if you're gonna go through the process of starting the business in Singapore, it's like 3 steps. You do it all online, gets processed the next day.
Right.
In Argentina, I hired this lawyer named Mariano, bilingual down there. And I'm like, okay, like, let's do this for real. Let's, set up our real entity in Buenos Aires and um, go through, we'll have payroll and everything. Okay. Um, but Brian, like, it's not a guarantee. Like, what? What do you mean? And he, it's like a kind of a sit down to tell me there's no Easter bunny. Like, this is a complicated place, and only by the grace of God and the bureaucrat you're assigned to will your paperwork be approved. I'm like, okay, like whatever, Mariano, you're just trying to build this up for me, maybe so you can
Sure.
overbuild it. But we prepare this packet and we go to this. We meet like 3 months later because it takes a long time to even get this appointment. And I'll just take an aside because it's kind of funny. So in the meantime, I wasn't waiting. We still had people that we hired. So I would pay them in US dollars. Now, the problem is you can't get US dollars easily in Argentina, or you got to overpay for them. So um, I would have to go to Uruguay, which is right next door to Argentina. And Uruguay, for those that don't know, it's like the Switzerland of Latin America. It's safe, stable, secure. A lot of the banks are there.
Sure.
So I would come home some days, from the office in Buenos Aires. Honey, let's take a romantic trip this weekend to Colonia, Colonia, Uruguay, and take the ferry over. And it's like this old ruin site. But in the meantime, like every 8 hours or as long as I'm allowed to, I'm maxing my ATM withdrawals and getting US dollars. But we go out for a nice dinner.
Sure.
Um, but anyway, we back to the bureaucrat. So we're at this building that looks like it's like like a regular DMV kind of building. You see all these nervous people wearing suits, in these plastic chairs, kind of sweating, and this like big number, that they're calling the number. So eventually they call us. Mariano is like no confidence, just like really worried, carrying this binder full of stuff and hoping we get approved. So we sit down, and the bureaucrat's kind of going through everything. He got my passport, all that stuff, and then he starts to it's Spanish. My Spanish got better when I was there, but wasn't fluent. So he's talking to Mariano, but I could tell something was wrong. So he tells Mariano there's a problem. Um, Brian doesn't have a power of attorney form signed. And I'm thinking, well, why do I need a power of attorney? I'm right here. This
Right.
this is me. Like I can sign everything myself right here. And Mariano's like, see, I told you, by the grace of God, like sometimes they just make up rules. Um and I think, there had to be, there was some sort of um exchange between Mariano and the guy to get us through that.
Yeah, I got that. I
Yeah.
was gonna.
So
So you
I don't
did
want.
get through that though.
Yeah, we eventually opened up shop and
Yeah.
started in this little dank co-working space, and eventually a nice, beautiful building to house 80 people. And meat is a big part of the culture there. So we had our own what they call parisha.
Mhm.
You might know of Paria, but they say sh in Buenos Aires instead of the L's like Y's. So we had a parisha just right outside. We grill steak every Friday for the team, bar in the office, all this stuff. It was great. And built that for about 4 years.
Now
That
you're
business,
selling services to U.S. based companies with your
that's right.
team.
That's
Is that
right. That's
right?
right.
And they're mainly software companies or
Mostly
anybody
software
who's doing it?
companies. Mostly
Okay.
software companies that were mostly in the fintech space. Uh,
Okay.
we had a specialization and
Mhm.
ran that for about 4 years. Revenues hit about 4 million, and then we started to have a family. I was living in Hawaii by then, and with no kids, flying to Hawaii and San Francisco a lot it's fine, like you do what you do. But once we started to have kids, I didn't want to do that anymore. It's a long way.
Sure. I've
Uh,
done that slog. I was on the board of a company in Honolulu and I lived in Boston.
oh
And
yeah,
so
yeah,
that's a long, long slog, that trip. I get it. And
yeah. I mean, even to get to the mainland, it's 5.5 hours. So
eh,
Um, yeah, so it was pretty brutal. I didn't want to leave my young kids, my wife at home
sure,
for too long.
sure.
So,
But
so I
why were
think,
you living in Hawaii? What drove you there if your business is in Latin America or
yeah,
in
that's the question of the day. But we love Hawaii. I'd
wow.
rather
Okay.
suffer on an airplane and when I'm and be and live in a place that has the best quality of life than the inverse.
I got it.
Yeah.
Okay. So
So
you're running this from afar now.
yeah, yeah, but hired good leaders.
Uh-huh.
And that was actually an interesting point too with Argentina. And actually, as I've gotten around Latin America with Mexico, Nicaragua, Colombia, so forth, it's not just the first level talent. The managers and leaders are really sharp. They're
Yeah.
really good. They're good motivators. They're good managers. You can delegate a lot. So um, I would wake up and I would kind of read the trail of what happened while I was sleeping.
Right.
And oh, a problem came up because it's business. Problems come up, but wow, like I'd see how they responded to it, and most of these things were solved. They weren't just bubbled up for me to deal with when I woke up. They were
That is
solved by
nice.
the time I woke up, and
Wow. Yeah. That
that was
that's unusual. That's
yeah. But
every
anyway,
business owner's dream.
oh, incredible, yeah. But anyway, I ended up selling my stake in that company, um, but was all in on nearshore. So I set up two other companies over the last couple of years that are all in on nearshore. One is an RPO company that stands for recruitment process outsourcing, basically leasing recruiters. And
Okay.
in the 2021 hiring boom, that was a really good company to have. We had about 60 VC funded tech companies as clients. Everybody from like Credit Karma to Superhuman, some big names out there. And we had 55 recruiters. Almost all were in Latin America, and they could speak perfect English. The candidates in the U.S. These were for companies that were only hiring in the U.S.
Right.
We needed recruiters who could keep up with the demand of hiring. So they were really good at sourcing tech companies, really good at screening, doing all the write-ups, navigating, getting through the offers. And this is a really interesting opportunity because um, we set up a recurring revenue model
That's
instead
the
of
RPO model is a recurring revenue
that's
model.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And not everyone knows that. They think about recruiting
Oh,
as
yeah.
like real estate agents.
We,
You make a placement and then you need to get something new, right? But we
hey,
had
hey,
recurring.
Brian.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't want to cut you off on that, but I
yeah,
mean, I've got experience in that. Zweig White
yeah,
is what preceded Zweig Group as the name of the entity. I mean, going back to the 90s, even, our largest client was paying us $1.4 million a year for
yeah,
outsourced recruiting.
yeah,
So
yeah.
we did a lot of it. Um, I can't imagine getting up to 55 people in that group.
Oh, it was beautiful. Yeah,
That's a real accomplishment, dude. And
yeah,
yeah, I get it. So it is a recurring annual agreement.
yeah.
And
So
so that,
we paid our people well, but
yep,
the monthly margins were out of this world. So that was another $4 million a year revenue business.
yep,
And then the bigger one I have today, it's called Plug Technologies,
yep.
PLUGG, and we're about 85, mostly software developers. But unlike the first one where we had everyone in a singular office and focused on fintech, uh, we're mostly hiring senior developers that just want to work like anybody else from all over Latin America.
Mhm.
So, say a company in California needs 4 Salesforce developers. We'll find them 4 in Mexico, but they don't even have to work at the same office. They're all just kind of working from home.
Yep.
We handle all the hardware. That's one thing I did bring up. It's not easy to get hardware in and out of every country in Latin America because you've got things like protection as a rule, and it's a timely topic now with tariffs. Uh,
Right.
but not every country uh, wants you bringing American hardware, into their country, or because they want you to buy their own,
Sure.
and or they just make it like exceedingly expensive. Like a MacBook Air you might buy for $1,000, in the States costs $3,000, in Argentina. So anyway, Plug handles all that, all the onboarding, compliance, dealing with all the different countries. And um, I've got a partner there who has been an expat in Monterrey, Mexico.
Okay.
So we've got a lot of firsthand experience that we share with our customers. It's not just stuff we saw on a blog. We've kind of lived it. From the DMV stories, and restaurants and chalk to all the good things too.
What about some of the laws? I mean, I've heard things like you can't let somebody go without paying them for a year. Uh,
Yeah,
have any of those things created problems for you?
very, very rarely.
Okay.
Um, just like anything, you gotta be good at hiring. Now, I will say something interesting in that senior talent in Latin America, more often than not, prefers to be treated like an independent contractor.
Okay.
So they don't want to be on the books because they've kind of reached a certain point. Mexico is a really good example. Um, so there's like a housing benefit you get,
Hmm.
when you're growing up in Mexico.
Self-employed. Yeah.
Well, so you get this like housing benefit where you get like access to the to like a really favorable mortgage term. But once you use that, you've used it. So if you're like 3 years in your career and you use it, great. Now you've got your house locked up. But now it's 10 years later in your career, you're senior, you speak good English, you solve problems, you got a lot of experience working with the US. You want to optimize for cash, and that's what we're seeing. We see
Hmm.
people that just want the cash. They don't want the health benefits and the mortgage benefits and the pension systems because it
Right.
just doesn't outweigh the
Sure.
cash today.
So
So
they want to be independent contractors. So that gets you out of that problem
yeah,
of the
yeah. So
employment laws.
yeah. Now I will say I haven't. So 10 years in Latin America, I haven't gotten out totally unscathed. But there's probably been less than 5 cases of
So,
dealing with bad actors.
wow, that's good. So how do you bill your clients and get paid? I mean, do
Yeah,
you,
yeah. Typically, in this world, because um, we're really a staff augmentation company, billing
right.
out month to month basis. So usually it's going to be on a net 30 basis. So we're front loading the cash to cover payroll, and then we get paid. Um, we've got a couple companies that are a little quicker than that. A couple that are a little older than that, but I think that's kind of the norm. Um, we've been able to self fund that. We have enough cash reserves to do that.
That's great. Yeah, that's always been one of the problems with this kind of a business. In my experience, is just the cash flow,
Yeah,
having the working capital, because some of these big companies don't pay for 60 or 90 days. And if you need that kind of money for 85 people on your payroll, it's a
yeah,
lot of working capital.
yeah. We
So,
looked at yeah we looked at factoring companies maybe a year ago, and
did you?
it sounds really good. We did not do it. It sounds really good
It's
when they
costly.
tell you, it's hey, it's just 1% a month, Brian. But
Yeah.
you kind of conceptualize like, okay, so well, you're actually just lending me my own money back, and then it compounds. But by the 12th month, it's I basically been paying 12%. By the 18th month, now it's 18%, and it just gets worse and worse and worse. And
Yeah.
you know,
Factoring is like the last course of working capital, in my opinion,
yeah,
most of
so
the time.
yeah, so line of credit when we need it, but we've been pretty fortunate in that. Some of my other wins in my career have been able to float us.
So, did you sell the recruitment company?
The recruitment company is still active. Uh,
Okay.
it's a
You
little
still
more,
own it?
still own it, still own 100% of it. It's smaller than it was in 2021, like almost every recruiting company. but we still have some tech clients.
I see. Interesting. So, how do you repatriate the money, or does it ever go overseas? I mean, I guess it
Well,
doesn't. You're paying money to people overseas, but you're billing and collecting in the U.S. Is that right?
absolutely correct.
Yeah. So that's not hard getting the money, paying people
No,
out of the country.
well, I've had to learn the hard way on a lot of this stuff.
Mhm.
From the stories of coming back with, this much, like this thick of US dollars, uh, on a boat to, I think the first time I tried to pay somebody was Western Union because, I know this is before a lot of the payroll companies, have started to exist. But now there's a lot of payroll companies, companies that specialize in all those things. So we've got a few partners that we work with when we have to.
I see. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it's one of the things I pretty much advise every small business owner to do, whether they're here or anywhere, is get a outside payroll service provider. It's just not
Yeah.
worth fooling around with.
No, no, not at
Uh,
all.
Take that off your back. It's cheap, and they pick up the liability for paying the taxes and all that.
That's right. That's
So
right.
it just doesn't make any sense to do it yourself. I mean, heck, I even had a nanny on a payroll, in the Boston area.
Yeah.
There was actually a company that specialized in providing payroll services to people who had nannies. It was called Nanny Pay,
Oh yeah.
if you can
Yeah.
believe that.
I can believe that. I mean,
Yeah,
once you start to hear about bigger names being investigated for not paying their their people correctly, like, oh, uh,
you don't want to get into
I
that.
want to be next. Yeah.
So now you've got this distributed network of the software developer types. Are all the recruiters still in one location?
Recruiters have always been distributed also.
Oh, they're also distributed.
Yeah.
So do you ever try to get together with all these people? Is there ever a time of the year that you bring them all together, or
Yeah.
how do you manage that?
Yeah. Well, I've been so lucky with having strong management teams
Mhm.
that that's something I've been able to delegate to these guys too. They pick a location. A couple of years ago, everybody came in to Buenos Aires. Uh, 2 years ago, Atlanta. Another year was Mexico City. I made that one. That was a really fun one. Um, but yeah, I think in this day and age, especially as you get all this pressure, like this, um, what I want to call it, like this slingshot that came right back, with it went, everyone was in the office and then
Yeah,
everyone was remote. And then now it's coming back, return back to office. And I'm not going to lie, I think you can get a lot done when you're sitting next to somebody. Um, but good talent wants to work on their terms.
sure.
There's still a lot of good talent that just wants their home set up, and there's a big labor pool we have to work with.
That's fantastic. I mean, so what's your life like? I mean, you're living in Hawaii. Do you get up every day and work 8 hours a day on your businesses, or what? I'm just
Uh,
curious.
yeah, luckily no. I've been pretty fortunate. Um, the direction that I've been going recently is I've never had anything here in Hawaii. Everything has kind of been over the interwebs. So the last year, I've acquired two local home services companies. One does cleaning, and one's a locksmith company. And then I'm looking at a lot of different stuff like landscaping. Eventually, I'll work my way up to the big dogs like HVAC. But there's a
I
lot of stuff
love you.
between, like appliance repair. And these are all things that I need anyway as a homeowner.
Yep.
And but the key that I've been the way that I've been acquiring these is I acquire part, not all, and I make sure that there's an existing operator already in it that's my equity partner.
Yep.
So there's a lead locksmith, in the locksmith
Sure.
business. There's a lead cleaner in the
Right.
company. So they've got equity, but I've other people have told me I'm making this like a micro P things because these businesses don't take credit cards, don't have a website, don't have Yelp, don't have an organized payroll, and in 6 months, we add all those things to them, and all of a sudden they're, now they have
3 times the size. Yeah.
yeah, and 3 times the size, and more
No
important,
marketing.
their valuation is also a lot bigger now too. So small amount of money, no banks involved, light due diligence. And, I think this is a good way for me to diversify my portfolio and give me an interesting problem set to work on during the day.
That's really cool. I've had other people, well, I know other people who do this.
Mm.
I've had other people on the show here, like Richard Scott. I think he's bought like 8 companies,
Oh, wow.
and he is consolidating some of them. He likes well-established companies that have been around a long time with boomers, super owners like
Yeah.
me who are getting out and they're tired, sick, dead, divorced, whatever. And then he comes in and does all the things you're talking about, puts them on a common accounting system, gets them organized. They generally don't have any process for anything, and starts doing the marketing and just fixes them up. And in some cases, he's merging them together.
Oh,
So he's
cool.
got he started with a awning company, then he bought a sign company, then he bought a glass company, then he bought a electrical contracting company, then a glass company or whatever, just,
Yeah.
and then they're all related, so they
Yeah.
can share certain customers and clients and even people in some cases.
Very smart.
And it's been a good strategy. I mean, it really is, because I mean, I'm sure you'd agree with this. I mean, the big guys, they just ignore all these companies,
Oh, totally. Yeah.
and the good thing too is it's not going to be your house cleaner is not going to be replaced by AI.
That's
You
the
know,
other elephant in the room. Yeah, exactly.
yeah. Whereas your software coding business may be
Yeah.
challenged by that at some point, right?
Although, Mark, I got sucked into a YouTube video last night about
Yeah.
a hotel in China,
Uh-huh.
operated by Alibaba, that has been entirely run by robots since 2018.
Holy cow!
Yeah. So, man,
It's possible.
yeah. So, but I think easier to replace a software developer than a house cleaner.
Yep. That's, yeah, the quote dirty jobs, as they say.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a
That's right.
lot of Yeah, there's a lot of money to be made in them. I think if I was going to school now, I may not go to SIU and get my undergrad and MBA there. I might just go get my plumbing license.
Yeah.
And
I think that's a smart move.
you know, it's it's still part of our culture. Like if your own kid says that to you, you might be like, "Well, I don't know, you should go get your degree. You never know."
Mhm.
And I can see the side of that too. It doesn't, as we all know, our degrees aren't just to give us a vocational skill. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. It's really to just be able to think and network.
yeah. Did you meet your wife at SIU?
No, I met her in San Francisco.
Okay. I was just curious. I used to spend a lot of time in San Francisco. I had an office out there for more than 20 years.
Oh, did you? Yeah. Yeah.
So it was like my home away from home.
Yeah. It's a beautiful city. It looks like they're cleaning it up a little bit now, too.
Yeah, we had one of our key people who still works for Zweig Group today lived in Ross, and that's about the coolest town I think I've ever been in,
Yeah.
or certainly one of them. But out there in Marin, it's so beautiful. They don't even have mailboxes because they're unsightly there. They all have to go to the post office
I can believe that.
to pick up their mail. But what's fascinating, you've done this. Now, do you have 100% ownership of your businesses, Brian?
Um, Plug, I have 90%.
Okay.
The company 100%, and then the home services business, I have partial ownership with the other operators.
Right. Do you maintain majority ownership of these things then? These
The
partial
the
ownership?
home services ones, I've structured it where, um, as an incentive, the other equity partner can become the majority.
Okay. So has it been I mean, generally, if I was advising somebody and they're buying one of those kind of businesses, I'd say you want to have an asset purchase agreement because you don't want to pick up unknown liabilities. But in your case, how are you
Yeah.
structuring that?
Well, we actually,
Set up a new co?
in every case, it's set up a new co.
Okay.
Yeah, every case we set up a new co. So I bring the cash, and they bring their past customers and team if they have it.
That's a very interesting model. And do you get
Yeah,
involved at all, like mentoring these people, talking to these people,
yeah.
helping them?
Not in like the day to day stuff, but weekly, monthly. We'll. Uh, I read a lot of what's going on. Like
I
I'll
say,
I'll read the emails, the WhatsApp chats. We've got
yep,
online, mobile apps for everything now too, so I can see all the jobs scheduled for the day and the revenues, and but without hassling them for it. I can just have access to it, and I think they appreciate it too. Because they in most cases they didn't have any of that stuff before they
sure,
met. You know, uh, but I think the really fun part, um, for me and them, is we get to see something a lot more professional. Like it brings like
right,
I think like a pride for everybody.
yep,
We're not just gonna make people pay us in cash on the table. And
yeah. We're not just hand to mouth, yeah,
yeah, we've got
making a
our
living.
real website, real logo,
Yep,
polo shirts with the image. It doesn't cost a whole lot of money to do these things, but it puts
yep.
you immediately in the top 5% of the companies that do this in your town.
I love it. I mean, that's where, to me, there's so many opportunities in businesses like that where they're totally mature markets. You don't have to do any market testing to know people like their house cleaned.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, we have our house cleaned every week. We've used the same people for probably close to 20 years.
yeah, yeah,
And and how many customers have I gotten for them alone,
yeah,
just in referrals? But you're right. I mean, they're just all these little mom and pops, and you see the primary woman, and then her mom's there sometimes, and then her daughter's there, and then her sister's there, and there's like no real business per se, no
yeah. I mean,
organization to it.
definitely not something anybody would buy.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah. What really led me on that path was I went the full route of trying to acquire 100% of a company here in Hawaii, and it
Yep.
was it was close to $1 million. So I would have used the SBA loan, and gosh, that was just it felt like the risk just wasn't worth it. Uh, I've acquired a fair amount of assets, and I've got to put liens on all these things, and uh,
Personal guarantees on your loan, on your
yeah,
SBA loan.
and like the owners are leaving because I'm buying their business, and like,
Right.
what do I really know here? Like I could
Yeah.
ask them 1,000 questions, but like once they fulfilled their 20 hours of training, like
They're
what
gone.
what did I buy? And I'm on
Yep.
the hook for 10 years on this thing. We could
Yep.
lose this house we have. Um, so
Oh, I've been there on those SBA loans. They want to grab any real estate they can get.
yeah, so I almost thought
It-
like, man, it would have
Yep.
been a lot better to do this when I was 22 and had nothing.
Sure.
But anyway, going down that path just made me like, this is totally unnecessary risk. Let me just put, my own money, my own due diligence,
Hmm.
find my own companies, my own operators, and it's been a lot easier this way.
Well, you're a really smart guy and you're really different. I mean, you're so relaxed over there.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
like
must be the.
just talking to you, it's almost therapeutic.
I appreciate
But
that. Yeah, it's got to be the Saluki connection.
but I think it's great the models, the various business models that you've developed successfully to bring in all these different income streams. It's pretty interesting
Wow,
stuff, and
appreciate that, Mark.
I commend you. You're a true entrepreneur.
Yeah,
And
10 years this year will be my as an entrepreneur, and I
yeah,
can't imagine doing anything else.
yeah. Well, at some point we all become unemployable, Brian.
That was
I mean,
me.
I just had that discussion with one of my friends today, this morning, and it's so true. After you do your own thing for so long, it's like you could never be put back into a corporate setting again. You know, you're just it's because you're used to the freedom that you have, even though it's a lot of responsibility and you never are completely unhooked.
Yeah,
It,
yeah.
it,
But in a
it,
way, we all would much rather bet on ourselves than bet on somebody else, right?
yep, exactly. Well, it's been great talking with you. If anybody wants to get in touch with you about any of your using any of your services, whether it's at Plug or your recruitment company, how do they reach you?
Yeah, I think just not so we don't overcomplicate it. I'll just leave my plug information, and
Okay.
then whatever they want to talk about, we can flip it over. So that's Plug Technologies, PLUGG, and the website for that is plugg.tech, TECH, and my email is Brian, BRIAN, at plug.tech.
Awesome. Well, listen, it's been great talking with you today, my friend, and I look forward to talking with you again. And maybe I'll get you on the somehow try to recruit you to the advisory board of the Southern Illinois College of Business.
It was fun being back there. I think that'd be cool.
That'd be awesome. All right, Brian. Well, thanks a lot. And everybody, until next week, this is Mark Zweig, and this has been another episode of Brian. You got to help me out here. Big Talk
Talk about small business.
Business. Thanks a lot.
All right. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of Big Talk about small business. If you have any questions or ideas for upcoming shows, be sure to head over to our website, www.bigtalkaboutsmallbusiness.com, and click on the Ask the Host button for the chance to have your questions answered on the show. Stay connected with us on LinkedIn at Big Talk About Small Business. And be sure to head over to our website to read articles, browse episodes, and ask questions about upcoming shows.